The words of Carl Seberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together. Our opening hymn this morning is Sia Hamba. It's number 1030 in your teal hymnal. And it's Sia Hamba is a South African song, Xhosa song, which was sung as part of the anti-apartheid movement. So it's a song of protest. The lyrics in English, roughly translated, are, "We are marching in the light of God." In Xhosa, it's Siyahamba ku kenyen kwenkos. And so it's a song that is a song of protest, but it's also, I think, fitting for today's service, a song that is full of energy, a song that is joyous and full of life, a reminder that though the issues that we sometimes struggle for in trying to create a more just and beautiful world can be heavy, that does not mean that there isn't space for joy. Indeed, our service this morning is about the fact that not only is there space for joy, but that we must have it in those moments. And so I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing together.
Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, siyahamba, siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, siyahamba, Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos.
Let's sing that again.
Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, siyahamba, siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos.
We are marching in the light of God.
We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. Marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching. We are marching, marching. We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. Marching, we are marching. Ooh, see, we're marching in the light of God.
One more time, Siyahamba.
Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, hamba, siyahamba. Siyahamba kukenyen kwenkos. cuencos. Sia hamba, sia hamba kukenyen cuencos. I invite you to remain risen as we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of service. And now I invite you to join me in saying our affirmation words, which we say both in English and in Spanish, as a reminder of the many languages spoken within this community and beyond these walls, the many languages of the heart. If we can get those words up on the screen, they're also in your order of service. All right. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls may grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Habitar juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas pueden crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que pactamos unos con otros.
We light this candle in recognition of the Tamian and Muwekma Ohlone indigenous peoples who were the first humans to inhabit and sustain this land thousands of years before settler colonizers arrived. We honor the resilience of these indigenous peoples in the face of devastating harm, and we lift up their neighboring descendants, the Amamutsan tribal band, with whom we are working to preserve their sacred land of Eurostak and to ensure that their culture continues to thrive. Good morning and welcome to worship with the First Unitarian Church of San Jose on this beautiful spring morning. Thank you for being here, whether you're visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years. You're welcome just as you are, because here we cherish all the diversities among us, including gender, sexuality, race, age, belief, income, ability, and ethnicity. We may be different in many ways, but we are united in the mission of this church, which is to make love visible in all we say and do. My name is Mary Martin. My pronouns are she, her, and it's my pleasure and joy to be the worship associate this morning. I want to acknowledge everyone who had a part in creating today's worship, but I want to give a special shout out to those people in the balcony, the tech team, who are always looking for new volunteers, by the way. Right now, they're going to work their magic so we can say hello to our friends who are joining us on Zoom. So smile and wave at the camera, which is right there. Okay. Well, there's our Zoom friends. And sooner or later, we'll be able to say hello to them. Okay, while we wait, oh, here we go. After the service, I hope you'll join us in Hattie Porter Hall right through these doors to enjoy refreshments and conversation. If you're new, you'll find a welcome table just inside the door where there's a friendly person who can talk to you about activities at this church, and you can learn more about Unitarian Universalism. The theme for this month is joy, and I've been thinking a lot about joy and how joy for me is different from happiness. For me, happiness is tied to specific circumstances, but joy is deeper and always available. There have been periods in my life when I very rarely felt happiness, like the year my son was deployed in Iraq and was in a combat situation at a forward operating base, or when my husband was in hospice dying of cancer. Although happiness was hard to come by, I could still feel some semblance of joy, which came, in the case of my son, from the feeling of connection I had with the other military parents in my Blue Star Moms group, and in the case of my husband, reflecting with gratitude on the love and the life that we shared. And in both cases, joy came from doing everything positive I could do in those situations, along with a feeling of guidance from what 12-step groups call a higher power. Joy helped me survive those hard times. Frederick and Marianne Bressat write that joy is an essential spiritual practice, growing out of faith, grace, gratitude, hope, and love. It is the pure and simple delight in being alive. So experiencing joy is something we can do no matter what our circumstances. Indeed, it can help us through tough times like this. Rather than feeling ground down by the news, which I am, and the craziness of today's world, we can turn to joy as a means of survival, as an act of resistance.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Matthew McHale. My pronouns are he and him, and I am a tall white male in my early-ish 40s. A couple quick announcements, or maybe just, well, a slightly extended announcement. So today, after the service, we have our social justice startup. We are, thank you. So we are obviously in the midst of a unsettled time in our country and our world, and sometimes it can be hard to know what it is that is ours to do as individually or collectively. And so we're very excited. Our Social Justice Council is excited to host after the service today, along with our community partner, PACT, People Acting in Community Together, a workshop from 1 till about 2:30 today to kind of kickstart, restart some of our justice work and figure out where it is that, what are the needs in our community and where do we want to focus. So I strongly encourage you to attend that. We are having a potluck lunch after the service at around 12:30. Not everyone was informed it's a potluck lunch, so if you're like, oh, I didn't bring anything, don't worry. Please come and have some food and then come to the workshop. And we have a relatively quick turnaround time, so it'll take your help both with cleaning up or setting up and a little bit of cleaning up as well as we transition out of that. So I hope to see you there. So today is, I'm excited because for our Story for All Ages, we have a special guest. We have, I think for the first time here, drag story time. This is something that's been happening in oftentimes libraries and community centers for the past almost decade, with drag performers coming in and reading stories. And so this morning, I'm very excited that we were able to bring that here to our sanctuary. Our drag performer comes from the far-off lands of Japantown, and the even further off lands of Appalachia originally. And so our drag performer we have a non-binary drag performer, Jasper Redwood, also today our friendly neighborhood Luck Dragon. And so in order to welcome them into the space, I have to play a little bit of music to bring them here. And so, but actually, can we get those who are young or young at heart? I think you've unmuted my sound. To come down to the sanctuary, to come down to the labyrinth and join here at the front. And let's get a little drum roll, can we? So. I'm not getting any sound on the music. Oh, that's because I didn't share it. Sorry.
If you have a microphone on.
I got it.
Is the mic on? Okay, there we go. How's everyone doing? Great, great, great. Let me just get this mic adjusted. Okay. You excited? Yay, I'm excited too. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to read today is Shimmery. So this book, as you can probably see, is very old because this is the first book that I ever bought. Bought it back when I was in the first grade. It's one of my favorite children's stories. I hope you guys like it too. In a mirror of sunrise glitter, dawn was born again in the land of crystalline splendor. As the sunshine crept across the diamond mountains, it shimmered from the crystal trees and flowers that made up the wondrous land. For you see, all living things in this land were cast from either glass, diamond, or crystal. The only colors were splotches of blue, silver, and gold. In this magic land, many strange crystal creatures frolicked in the dancing lights of day. There were crystal-like birds called glimmerings, smiling little lizards called beamers, and the most beautiful of all, horse-like creatures called lightosaurs, who had wings made of delicate diamonds so they could fly wherever the eye could see. The youngest of all the lightosaurs was called Shimmery. She was very small, like a precious stone, and as curious as a cat. She would spend all of her days chasing after rainbows or trying to catch the sun. Everything would have stayed all sparkle and glitter in this magic place had not Shimmery, as she was flying about one day, discovered a small pile of dust caught in the corner of a crystal rock. Well, not only had she never seen dust before, But the color of it was the most amazing. This dust wasn't crystal, blue, or silver, but rather a grayish brown. She studied it from side to side, then rushed off to tell her fellow creatures what she had found. At first, the other creatures didn't believe the little lightosaur. The mere thought of something new was just impossible. Finally, they decided to humor her and reluctantly followed her to the crystal rock. Sure enough, just as Shimmery had told them, there was a pile of dust. None of them had ever seen anything like it before. Just as they prepared to sweep it away, the dust settled, and there nestled in the rock was a pearl-shaped seed. Well, the creatures didn't like this one little bit. Not only was there a pile of dust, which was unheard of, but also a seed, the likes of which they had never seen before. "We can't have this," said the leader of the lightosaurs. "It must be destroyed." "Oh yes," cried the glimmerings and the beamers. "Destroy the seed before it harms us." Shimmery stood there for a moment and then stomped her feet angrily. "No," she said, "we should destroy it just because we don't know what it is." "Oh, Shimmery," said the leader patiently, "look at it. It's not blue, silver, or gold. It's not even a crystal." "Please, please," said Shimmery, "let me take care of the seed. If something starts to happen, you can destroy it then." The leader thought for a moment and finally agreed. After all, with Shimmery watching, nothing bad could happen. True to her word, Shimmery stayed near the dust and the pearl-shaped seed, day in and day out. Then one day, the seed cracked and creaked and groaned, and as she watched in amazement, a small shoot ever so slowly reached out to the sun. Most amazingly of all was its color, the likes of a color that she had never seen. What color is it? Green. The color green was the first to their world. With a flip of her tail and a twitch of her ears, Shimmery flew into the air and rushed to find the other creatures. After she told them what she had seen, they all rushed fearfully back to the rock. "I knew we should have destroyed it," cried the beamers. "Look at it," shuddered the glimmerlings. "You can't see through it like a crystal. It just has to be evil." The leader of the lightosaurs looked around and then shouted in alarm, "Oh no, we're all catching its color." Sure enough, the small green plant had been reflected over and over again in the crystal formations. Everything had turned a distinct shade of green. The creatures all stomped and snorted and would have destroyed the plant if not for Shimmery, had not come with a daring plan. "Look," she cried, "the sun is setting. We can't destroy this thing in the dark. Who knows what terrible fate would befall us all if we couldn't see what we're doing?" "She's right," said the frightened leader of the lightosaurs. "We'll come back first light of the day and destroy this then." The other creatures were just as frightened as he and quickly agreed, so they hurried off safely to sleep the night away. When she was sure that everyone was fast asleep, Shimmery quietly flew back to the crystal rock and the little green shoot. By the soft reflections of the starlight, she carefully scooped up the pile of dust and flew to the highest peak of the Diamond Mountains. It was there that she safely hid the tiny bit of dust and the ever-growing plant. Knowing that it would be safe, she contentedly flew back to where the other creatures were sleeping. At the first crack of dawn, all the creatures marched to where the little pile of dust had been, but much to their surprise, it was gone. "Maybe it blew away in the night," mused Shimmery innocently. "Who cares?" asked the other creatures. "We're just glad it's gone forever." It was at that exact moment that the little plant began to bud and blossom, flooding the diamond mountain and the sparkling sky with the most beautiful hue. What hue is that, guys? Red? Red. Oh no, they cried. We are doomed. No, said Shimmery. Come with me. I'll show you that there is nothing to fear. The creatures, although very frightened, followed her to the top of the mountain. Nervously, they approached the spot where Shimmery had flown the night before. And there, even to her surprise, instead of the small green plant stood the most beautiful red rose. As the creatures looked up in wonder, the sun began to rise in all of its splendor, and all of the colors spread throughout the land. See, said Shimmery gleefully, you had nothing to fear but fear itself. So from that day forward, color was brought into the land of crystalline things, and all the creatures learned not to fear that which they did not understand. So, everyone here, if among your travels you find a thing unknown, think of crystalline Shimmery and the seed that she was shown. Okay, I forgot to mention that that book was written by Stephen Cosgrove and illustrated by Robin James. What did you guys think? Yeah? What lessons were to be learned in that book? Anyone? Go ahead. Exactly. Yep. And color is great in the world. We don't want nothing but a bunch of grays and blues. We want all the colors. Okay. Are you ready for another book? All right. Now this one I do not know. I have not read this one, but it's Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. This is a boy named Julian, and this is his abuela, and those are some mermaids. Julian loves mermaids. Anybody else love mermaids? Yeah, I love mermaids too. What do you guys think is going on in this picture? It's a little off. He's thinking about mermaids. Okay. Oh, there's Julian becoming a mermaid. There we go. Vamamos, mijo. This is our stop. So waving goodbye to all the little mermaids. Abuela, did you see the mermaids? I saw them, mijo. Abuela, am I also a mermaid? I'm going to take a bath. You be good. Julian has a good idea. What do you think he might be doing? Yeah. It's a very nice headdress, yes. Oh, uh-oh. Come here, mijo. For me, abuela? For you, Julian. Where are we going? You'll see, says abuela. whispered Julian. Like you, mijo. Let's join them. And they do. All right. All right. So what do you think you got out of that book? Was there any hidden meanings? Go ahead. Exactly, exactly. Does anybody want to be a mermaid now? I definitely want to be a mermaid. I mean, I'll have to stop being a dragon, but mermaids are okay. All right, so that's my time. Thank you so much for listening. I am Jasper Redwood.
Thanks so much, Jasper. Let's go out to their religious education class. Let's sing them out together. And actually, Jasper, can I get you to help me with these hand motions? You can follow me, and we'll make them big and dramatic because that's fun. So let's sing together and do our hand motions as we sing our children to their religious education classes. Justice as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace. Thanks. Sorry. We didn't talk about you doing the offering. Do you need me to do it? All right. This church exists because of the many people who came before us, who were here, who laid the cornerstone, the foundation of this church, who have supported it and sustained it with their time and their talent and treasure over many, many years. And so, as our way of expressing our gratitude for what has come before us, and as a way of giving forward so that those who come after us might be able to come here and receive in the future what we find or what we come looking for today, we take up our offering to sustain the work of the church. And so, if you want to make a payment online, you can do that by going to sanjoseuu.org/donate. If you're writing a check, you can make it out to FUCSJ with offering in the memo. And if you're making a payment on your annual pledge, just write pledge in the memo instead. Our offering will now be gratefully received. to the work of the church, which is making love visible in all that we say and do, we dedicate ourselves and these our offerings. So, oftentimes, when we do our congregational joys and sorrows, we invite people to come up and light a candle. Today, we're doing a slightly different version of that ritual, broken into two different parts. And so, the first will be a time of sharing the the sorrows that are on our hearts this morning. That which weighs heavily, that which we are worried about for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our community, whatever it may be. And you are invited to come forward and drop a stone into this vessel of water. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer. Just settle into this moment. I offer these words from the Sufi poet Hafez. And trying to find it. The joy in a humorous situation when you decide to go with a shorter reading than the one you had planned because it would be quicker, and then you spend more time trying to find it because it does not appear to be showing up in the place where you expect it. And sometimes one must find joys in places that are unexpected. Yeah, he said that. Good. All right. This is from the 14th century Persian poet Hafiz, translated by Daniel Ladinsky. I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy, my heart is too heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance, the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift up others. O Sacred One, untangle my feet from all that ensnares, free my soul that we might dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. Amen. We have a song. You're like, all right. I invite you to join me in singing "When Our Heart Is in a Holy," Love Makes a Bridge. It's number 325, but we've only singing verses 1, 3, and 5, and the verses are slightly different on the third verse than what you see in the hymnal. So it may just be easier to follow along on the screen, at least for the third verse, which will be our second verse. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Love makes a bridge from heart to heart and hand to hand. Love finds a way when laws are blind and freedom bend. Love is the joy that force and fear have beaten down. Joy breaks the chains and gives us strength to stand our ground. Love makes a bridge from
You gotta laugh. Please be seated.
This reading is from the book Inciting Joy by Ross Gay. My hunch is that joy is an ember for or a precursor to wild and unpredictable and transgressive and unboundaried solidarity, and that solidarity might incite further joy, which might incite further solidarity, and on and on. My hunch is that joy, emerging from our common sorrow, which does not necessarily mean that we have the same sorrows, but that we in common sorrow, might draw us together. It might depolarize us and de-atomize us enough that we can consider what in common we love. And though attending to what we hate in common is too often all the rage, and it happens to be very big business, noticing what we love in common and studying that might help us survive. It's why I think of joy, which gets us to love, as being a practice of survival.
Our second reading is called Black Joy by the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson. She begins with a quote from Barbara A. Holmes. Joy unspeakable is not silent. It moans, hums, and bends to the rhythm of a dancing universe. For our free African ancestors, joy unspeakable is drum talk. For enslaved Africans during the Middle Passage, joy unspeakable is the surprise of living one more day. For Africans in bondage in the Americas, joy unspeakable is the moment of the mystical encounter when God tiptoes into the hush arbor. Joy unspeakable is humming How I Got Over after swimming safely to the other shore of a swollen Ohio River, when you know that you can't swim. When theologian Barbara A. Holmes talks about joy unspeakable, she's talking specifically about how the contemplative practices of the Black church have sustained Black people in America through suffering and survival. It's a mode of energetic worship often narrowly associated with the shout, the stomp, the song. The modes of Black spirituality that are most powerful, nourishing, and nurturing for me aren't the stomp, shout, or song. Instead, I think of the rock, the sway, the bend, the moan, the hum. I think of these things done in community. I marvel that in the midst of sadness and sorrow, in the midst of feeling the effects of generations of trauma wrought by racism and white supremacy, we can still find joy with each other. We are finding joy in each other. I call it Black joy because I'm Black, and it is the joy that I have been familiar with my whole life. It is the joy that I have learned from Black people. It is the joy created through our collective healing, our laying down of burdens to be picked up and shared by our people, our community. This is not joy in spite of suffering, a mask put on to hide pain, an armor put on to push through pain. This is an embrace, holding and soothing us in our suffering. This Black joy is joy created through our being together. This Black joy reminds me that I am not alone, that trouble don't last always, that I'm held and carried forward by a power beyond what I can comprehend. I call it Black joy, but I want to offer it to the extent that it is mine to offer to this faith. One of my gifts to Unitarian Universalism is the suggestion that joy is ours. Claiming the possibility of Unitarian Universalist joy requires making space for the surprise that Holmes describes. Claiming the possibility of Unitarian Universalist joy requires slowing down to hear the talk of the drum, pausing to move to the rhythms of the drum. Unitarian Universalist joy requires opening to the possibility of the mystical encounter. Unitarian Universalist joy requires embodying this faith differently than many are accustomed to. At difficult times like these, I know it can sometimes feel odd to explore joy, to seek it out when so many bad things are happening in our communities, in our country, in the world. One of the quotes that's been defining my thinking for this service, that's helped shape this service, is from Dan Savage, who's probably this country's most preeminent sex columnist and podcaster with the column Savage Love. And earlier this year, he reflected back on what it was like being a young gay man in the 1970s, not a young gay boy at that point, at the beginning of the gay rights movement. He writes, "Anyone who tells you that making time for joy is a distraction or a betrayal has no idea what they're talking about. Watching clips of the protests, it's remarkable how much fun the gays and lesbians at those protests in the 1970s that I saw on TV when I was 11. It's remarkable how much fun they were having at those protests. And during the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning. We protested in the afternoon. and we danced all night. And it was the dance that kept us in the fight, because it was the dance that we were fighting for. It didn't look like we would win then. It didn't look like we would win marriage equality in 2004, but we did. Right now, it doesn't feel like we can win, but we can. But only if we fight and dance. I know many of us, maybe this lesson of joy as resistance doesn't feel so foreign to us this time around. Remembering back over these past 8 years of how hard it has been at times, I know so many of us have turned to joy. In the lead up to the election, in the weeks beforehand, and particularly in the weeks after us, many people disconnected from what was going on in politics at the national level because it was too much, and tried to focus on finding what joy we could, myself included. And I know some of us, myself included, sometimes felt guilty about that, wondering, okay, like when do I start engaging? How much is too much? And so sometimes we just need that joy to get through, right? To give us the energy to keep going, that motivation when things are hard. But sometimes that protest, that act of resistance is simply the joy, and they go hand in hand. Joy is powerful. One of the things that I know many of us focus on in this country, there's so much focus on happiness and trying to be happy. Well, happiness is circumstantial, as in happiness is dictated by the circumstances that we are living in. Joy, on the other hand, is existential. Joy is always there whenever we need it. And joy is powerful. Adrienne Marie Brown writes in her book, Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good, true pleasure, joy, happiness, and satisfaction has been the force that helps us move beyond the constant struggle, that helps us live and generate futures beyond this dystopic present, futures worthy of our miraculous lives. Pleasure, embodied, connected pleasure, is one of the ways we know when we are free. That we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us to move through the times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through the terror of genocide, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and spirits get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. And so we can find joy, take pleasure in those small things, as simple as appreciating a sunset on a walk with a friend, listening to bird song, relishing those sleepy moments in bed, curled up with the covers, perhaps with a loved one beside us. That joy is always there. Finding joy in what it is to be alive. Because there's so much beauty, even amidst all of the suffering and the pain, there is always so much beauty in the world. In nature and in our connection with each other. And maybe, I think there's also a joy to be found in taking care of each other during difficult times, reminding ourselves that although our sorrows are our own, as humans we share in common the experience of sorrow. But in taking care of each other and working for each other's well-being, we can experience that joy. There's a podcast by Amara Jones, or it's the Translash podcast with Amara Jones, who's a wonderful writer and thinker about issues of trans identity and non-binary and liberation and justice. And in each episode, although the topics that they cover vary widely, some are heavy, each episode begins with stories of sharing trans joy, of people offering trans joy, people who offer haircuts to other trans people, who make comedy, who make art that reflects trans people. And all of these are about their experiences of joy, but in almost all of them, the thing that I noticed as I listened to them, so much of the joy came from being of service to other trans and non-binary folks, of finding that joy in supporting others. And what else can we ask for in difficult times but to support one another and find joy there? And I think there's something in particular about trans joy that can be revolutionary. As Jillian Brandstetter, a trans writer and journalist who now works for the ACLU, writes, before and after leaving the closet, many trans people are surrounded by alarms about the dangers we may face, some real, some imagined. But the suffering of transgender people is a policy choice disguised as an inevitability. This is why our joy is so indispensable. Particularly when the news of the world only seems to grow dimmer and darker, it's more critical than ever to prove transgender joy is a reality, to prove that with the right material and social support, our lives can be as fulfilling and meaningful as anyone else's. That even when forces larger than us try to break our spirit, we can respond as forcefully and effectively with joy as we can with anger, defiance, and protest. Trans joy is choosing your own name, being the person who know who you are and existing in the way that makes sense. The feeling of twirling in a skirt, getting your nails done, growing a beard for the first time, or relaxing shirtless on the beach after surgery. And supporting other trans people to be themselves. One of the terms we often hear about with relation to trans people is the concept of gender dysphoria, of feeling dysphoric about the gender that one was assigned at birth. But there's another concept of gender euphoria, the opposite of joy, the joyful feeling that one gets when the rightness of one's gender or sex is reflected. And so that euphoria is there too. And so maybe we should start focusing not so much on the dysphoria, which is not true for everyone, although it is true for some, but to focus on the euphoria, the positivity that is there. And it's not unique to trans people. I think there have been people who are targeted, oppressed throughout history who have nevertheless found ways to express, to experience joy. Shantae Joseph, in an essay, What Black Joy Means, writes, to resist the omnipresent, intrusive and pervasive nature of white supremacy, we must allow ourselves to be rebelliously joyous. Where society has told Black people to be quiet and that we're too loud and too different, it is an act of resistance to revel in the joy that they have spent much of history trying to take away from us. And she points to in this article that was written back in 2000, a series of videos posted by Kayla Robinson on June 3rd, 2020, a little over a week after George Floyd was murdered, and as Black Lives Matter movement was sweeping across the country, lifting up the lives of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many others. And Kayla Robinson posted a series of videos on Instagram, which I want to share just a couple with you very briefly.
Oh.
We'll be alright.
I remember watching those back in 2020. It was a viral thread that was seen by millions of people. And I mean, the power of, in the midst of all of this pain and suffering, a reminder of that explosive laughter, that laughter so strong that you can barely even get it out, like those two young folks sitting around the table who can barely get the laughter out of their lungs because it's so caught up. That laughter is so strong. It's infectious, contagious, and so powerful. Being able to, and I think that's what joy has to look like. Not necessarily in that specific way, but that really ebullient, full-throated laughter in the face of, even though things are hard, even though things are difficult, even though things have been hard for me, for my parents, for my ancestors, that there is still joy and power in that joy. And Kimberly Quinn Johnson suggests that this sort of revolutionary joy is available to all of us as Unitarian Universalists. At this time when so many of our values feel under threat, as people who work for justice and equity and inclusion, who celebrate the interdependent web of existence, I think it is imperative that we be willing and able to tap into that joy, both as a way to sustain us, to lift our spirits, to keep us going, and as an act of resistance to say, no, we will not let you grind us down. We will laugh in the face of it all and come back and keep coming back, working to build that joyous, beautiful future that is full of laughter always. May it be so. Our closing hymn is I Still Have Joy, and so I invite Sally to help us lead this song. The words will be on your screen. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Judy Fiala is a singer-songwriter friend from Montana, who's also a UU. I still have joy, I still have joy, after all the things I've been through, I still have joy, I still have joy, I still have joy, after all the things I've been through, I still have joy. I forgot to tell you about the claps. There's one more time with the claps, and I can't clap and play, so that's a clap. I still have joy, after all the things I've been through, I still have joy. I still have joy, I still have joy, after all the things I've been through, I still have joy. There are times in my life when I felt I couldn't go on, but God loves me and made me strong. You gave me faith to walk through the night. This is my testimony. Everything's gonna be alright, and I still have joy. I still have joy. After all the things I've been through, I still have joy. I still have joy. I still have joy. After all the things I've been through, I still have joy. This world we're living in, it can bring me to my knees. I can't go it alone. I need unity. You hold my heart to the possibilities of justice like water rolling down to the sea. I still have joy. I still have joy. After all the things I've been through, I still have joy. I still have joy. I still have joy. After all the things I've been through, I still have joy.
As our service comes to a close, I invite you to reach out and take a hand or bump elbows or touch a shoulder, make some sort of connection. I'll leave you with the words of the Reverend Scott Taylor. Kick the ball, dance in the rain, get lost on purpose, fly the kite, smell the flowers, pull out the paints. Let life take you by the hand, friends. Lean back and let the wind mess up your hair. Open to the joy that's been waiting for you. Behold its delights. Don't you know you've already won the prize? Now go out and share it. Amen and blessed be. Oh, Lord. Well. Yeah, go ahead and make it. Oh, Lord. All right. It's a little bit of a shaggy dog service.
A potluck too, thank you. There's some food. We'll make it work. If you didn't bring anything, don't worry. And we hope that you'll stay for the social justice startup. So we'll eat, and then we're gonna do our first action together, which is to clear things out of Hattie Porter, because there's a dance later. So you'll be put right to work. So go have some food, enjoy each other, and then we'll clean up together and move back in here, probably a little after 1, but it's going to be an awesome afternoon, so thank you.